So, let's just jump right in. What we have here is this incredible clash of realities. On one side, you've got a really powerful U.S. Senator John C. Calhoun, and he's building this whole intellectual defense of slavery. And on the other side, you have Frederick Douglass, a man who literally escaped from that system and then told the world what it was really like. Their words, they paint two pictures of the world that just cannot exist at the same time. We're about to see just how deep that divide really was.
Okay, so this is it. This is the absolute core of Calhoun's argument, and he said this right on the Senate floor. Listen to what he's doing here. He isn't saying slavery is, a necessary evil or something they're stuck with. No, he's making this wild claim that it's a moral, social, and economic benefit. He calls it a positive good. This wasn't just a defense. This was him trying to end the argument for good.
And that's the real question, isn't it? When a politician stands up in a fancy hall and calls a system a positive good, what does that actually look like, day to day for the person who's trapped inside it? It's time to step away from the theory and walk into the reality.
Calhoun's whole defense pretty much rests on two big ideas. We're going to start with the first one, this claim that slavery was actually a good thing for the people who were enslaved, that it was this force for improvement.
You gotta pay attention to the words Calhoun is using here. He's claiming improvement across the board, physically, morally, and intellectually. The argument is basically that slavery took people from a worse situation and made their lives better. So how does Frederick Douglass, a man who actually lived it, respond to this idea of physical improvement?
Well, Douglass gives us a very direct answer, and he starts with the most fundamental thing you can think of when it comes to physical well-being: food. He gives us a detailed, no-nonsense breakdown of the supplies that were supposed to keep a person alive while they performed brutal, forced labor.
That's it. 8 pounds of meat and a bushel of cornmeal for the entire month, for a grown adult working from sunrise to sunset in the fields. This is a diet of pure survival, right? It's not calculated for health or for well-being. It's the absolute minimum amount of fuel needed to keep the machine running. This is the reality behind that word improved.
And what about the clothing? Just as bare bones. You get a couple of coarse shirts, a couple pairs of pants. That's about it. But the detail that just gut punches you is what Douglass says about the children. They often had nothing at all. They'd get a shirt or two, and when those wore out, they just went naked. It didn't matter if it was summer or the dead of winter.
So this claim of physical improvement is already falling apart with just food and clothes. But Douglass shows us it went so much deeper. The deprivation, it turns out, stretched into the one thing every human being needs to survive: rest.
Just try to imagine this for a second. After a whole day of back-breaking work, you still have to do your own washing, mending, cooking. There are no beds, just one single, coarse blanket and a cold, damp floor that you share with everybody else. Sleep isn't recovery. It's just this brief, exhausted collapse before the sound of the driver's horn blasts you back into another brutal day.
Okay, so if the whole improvement argument doesn't hold up to scrutiny, what about Calhoun's second big idea? This one was all about paternalism. The idea that slaveholders were like these benevolent father figures, providing kind and compassionate care.
So, see what he's doing? He's setting up this comparison. He's painting this picture of masters and mistresses as these kind guardians, offering a life that's way better than what the poorest people in Europe had. The phrase to focus on is kind superintending care. So, naturally, the question is, what did that care actually feel like?
Douglass's answer to this whole idea of kindness is just as direct, and frankly, just as devastating as his accounting of the food rations. To fight back against the abstract idea of kind care, he doesn't use an argument. He gives us a person, a name and a face.
Mr. Sevier, Douglass points out with this kind of dark, bitter humor that the overseer's name was just perfect. It described him exactly. This was the man who was in charge of providing that day-to-day care that Calhoun was talking about. He was the system in human form.
And there it is. That's Douglass's response to the claim of kind care. It's not a theory, it's a memory. This absolutely horrific, vivid image of just brutal violence. And not just against a worker, but against a mother right in front of her own children. This one single image just completely shatters Calhoun's fantasy of kind-hearted guardians.
Douglass sums up the feeling that Mr. Sevier created. Life under his so-called care was just a constant state of terror. The plantation wasn't just a place where crops grew. Douglass called it a field of blood, where violence was the language of management.
And this might be the most powerful detail of all. When Mr. Severe died, the people he terrorized didn't mourn. They saw it as a gift, a merciful act from God. Just think about that for a second. Think about what it means to live in a world that is so awful that the death of another human being feels like a cause for gratitude.
So what we're left with are these two worlds that simply cannot exist in the same universe. On the one hand, you have this carefully built political argument, and on the other, you have the raw, painful, undeniable truth of human experience.
I mean, let's just put them right next to each other. Calhoun's positive good is Douglas's memory of watching a woman get whipped. Calhoun's civilized and improved is the reality of children with no clothes. Calhoun's kind, superintending care is a field of blood. It's so clear. Douglas's whole story is a direct point-by-point takedown, using the undeniable truth of his own life to completely dismantle the political fiction.
And that leaves us with one last, really important question. This fight between Calhoun and Douglas wasn't just about their time. It's about a struggle that's still happening today, a struggle over the story itself. It really forces you to ask, when you're faced with two completely different stories, whose version of reality do you choose to believe? Whose story becomes the one that we remember?